This is a gorilla. Your folks are both gorillas. You are a gorilla.
They propose revisions that always seem to involve less respect for the rights of free nations and less freedom for the individual. These matters would be difficult under any circumstances. They are further complicated by a trend in Western countries away from global engagement and democratic confidence. Parts of Europe have developed an identity crisis. We have seen insolvency, economic stagnation, youth unemployment, anger about immigration, resurgent ethno-nationalism, and deep questions about the meaning and durability of the European Union. America is not immune from these trends. In recent decades, public confidence in our institutions has declined. Our governing class has often been paralyzed. The American dream of upward mobility seems out of reach for some who feel left behind in a changing economy. Bigotry seems emboldened. Politics seems more vulnerable to conspiracy theories and outright fabrication.
You both were members of Skull and Bones, a secret society at Yale. What does that tell us?
Not much, because it's a secret.
Is there a secret handshake? Is there a secret code?
I wish there were something secret I could manifest.
322, a secret number?
There are all kinds of secrets.
Now, as you may know, my running mate, Tim, is Catholic and went to Jesuit schools. And one of the things he and I have talked about is this idea from the Jesuits of the Magus, the more, the better.
Hello and welcome everybody to another reading of the book Code Word Barbelon. Today is... what day is it? It is March 3rd already. Can you believe it? And Jörg and I have not been doing any readings for some days now. And we are on chapter 23, Behind 1,000 Masks, Loyola's Offsprings and Their Agents. So, Jörg, how are you doing over there in Belgium?
Oh, I'm quite well, and I just want to say a little bit about your intro. I have to make a comment on that.
All right, let's hear it.
First of all, you of course say welcome to another reading because we have stopped counting them a long time ago. We don't even know where we are. I think it is somewhere in the 40s in the meantime.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's easier to say just another another broadcast or another reading of the book Code Word Babylon than to say a wrong number. Maybe we should get our things in order, number them, and then we know when we are doing a new reading saying, this is this reading. But okay. And then you said we didn't do some reading the last days. No, that's right. You were working in the system of the Antichrist, and I was reading in German. I didn't stop reading. I was very busy producing, but you, of course, had other things to do, other chickens to pluck, we say in German. And I understand that completely. It's just a little bit a shame that when you are busy with a book like this and then all of a sudden you have to pause for a few days, you just try not to lose the grip on it, the train of thought, you know. And for that, I started reading a book that I can advise everybody to read because it is available in English too, of Theodor Griesinger. He was a German who also spent some time in the United States, and he wrote a book in 1866 about the Jesuits, and very deep, and I don't know the complete title in English right now, right here. That's not so important. You can look that up. It's a very interesting book, as I said, published in 1866. In German, he wrote 2 volumes. I don't know if the English one are also 2 volumes. And that is really interesting. And I started reading that, and I already did 4 videos on that the last day. So at least I am still a little bit in my mind busy with these Jesuits. But you know, at a certain moment, Brett, you just see Jesuits everywhere. You know.
Oh man.
When you are so busy with that stuff, I mean.
Yeah, you know, the Antichrist will never ever admit to any wrongdoing, Jörg.
No.
And there are people that are so embedded that I work with this. I mean, it's almost pointless to even bring it up.
I had that, I think, a few days ago in a comment, Brett, that somebody wrote about, I think that was in one of the videos of Presence of God Ministries, so I'm not sure, or even a comment on my own videos, I don't know, where he said, that Pope Francis excused himself or said sorry for the atrocities they did some time ago. I don't know, whatever.
Right.
And I said, and then I pulled out an article from, I think, CNBC in America from the year 2000 of the mea culpa of Antichrist Pope John Paul II, who in 2000 said a mea culpa, apologizing for the deaths they caused during the Inquisition.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem is they can say sorry as much as they want. They never are sorry. They never are.
Yeah, all you have to do is look up mental reservation and learn all about that.
Yeah, they don't repent of what they,
That's it.
So it is not a meant excuse. They can say whatever they want. It's not a meant excuse. The Roman Catholic Church will never excuse for things they think they do legally.
No.
Because according to their Roman Catholic canon law, it is no crime to kill a heretic. No. That was one of the arguments also that Lachaise used when he was convincing King Louis XIV of France to revoke the Edict of Nantes, telling him, well, you are actually doing God a service because these Protestants are lost anyway. They are dead anyway because they are outside of the Roman Catholic Church, and outside of the Roman Catholic Church there's no salvation. They are just zombies. They are just walking dead. You don't do anything wrong with killing them. That's the way how we got them. And that's the way how they will get us in the future too, when the Inquisition is coming to America. Prepare for that.
Yeah.
It's gonna come. And
I'll tell you something. Finish what you were saying. I'm sorry to interrupt. Please.
No, just the reason that I'm saying that is also the reason why we are reading this Cold Word Babylon. We want to warn the people of the repeating of history.
Yeah.
Because people, not of their own fault, but they grow up in a system where they don't have the possibility to study history as it really happened. And with books like this, we have the possibility to match a real history to Bible prophecy, and thereby can see the fulfilling of Bible prophecy before our eyes. And with this, I hope, we bring people back to studying these things instead of just using the television or the computer for entertainment, for playing games and watching television series and movies and chatting into oblivion with so-called friends on Facebook and I don't know what all.
Right.
and try to get the people out of there, because you know what the government fears the most, Brad? Educated people who can think for themselves.
Critical thinking, exactly.
Yeah, that's what they fear the most.
Yes, they do.
That's why
critical thinking in the information age, brother. That's what they fear.
That's why they do everything to prevent you from doing studies like this. This is why entertainment and all that stuff.
But then you get into the principles the church is into, and they're self-replicating principles, and they work the same way. So when you start telling someone, well, I read the King James Version authorized 1611 version, they're like, well, no, you're bowing to King James the First, who created his own little bubble or whatever. They just can't see it that way because they don't study the history. They're not interested in the history. They already know everything. So let them know everything and let them go their way, I guess.
I just received yesterday from a sister in Germany a wonderful paper from a guy whose name is Rudolf Ebertshäuser. And that text that I received of her is a PDF of 43 pages. So you hear me coming already. I again got something else added to my busy agenda to reading. It is called The Reliable Text of the New Testament, the Textus Receptus and the Changes in Modern Bibles. So this is something, of course, you have in English, you have this. Did the Roman Catholic Church give us the Bible from David W. Daniels from Chick Publications? You have this other one that we are going, or that I am at least going to do, Rome's Persecution of the Bible. I have an excerpt here as a PDF, and I also have the complete book reading that. That's always in English, about explaining the people how the new Bibles are corrupted. But with this paper that I hold in my hands now, I mean, I don't hold it in my hands visibly because it's on the computer. It's a
Sure.
PDF. But with this paper, and I checked this guy out, and I checked the paper out a little bit. He is a little bit of he is accused of being a Darbyist. Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't care. The thing that I read from his paper up to now is absolutely legitimate and in defense of the Textus Receptus and the King James Bible in English and comparable Bibles in German. So I'm going to read that paper too, and I just think this is wonderful, and more people should be busy with these things.
I agree. I absolutely agree.
It all comes down, and then you can make your little comment before we go into the reading.
Sure.
It all comes down to the quote we could read from Martin Luther. Let me just pull that up, not out of my behind, but out from my computer here.
Yeah, right. Good.
Because I don't wanna quote a few words. I wanna really quote the whole thing.
Yeah, there's a big difference
And
there. I know what you mean.
yeah, there's a big difference.
There really is. You can't retain everything. You can retain some, but it's really hard to get everything memorized unless you really, really need to do it.
It says, and this is a quote from Martin Luther, they say, appears in the open letter to the Christian nobility of the German nation concerning the reform of the Christian estate from 1520, which I read in German and in English on my YouTube channel. I didn't find this quote in there, and this work, the open letter to the Christian nobility, is just an excerpt of his bigger work, The Babylonian Captivity of the Church. That is something that Tom Friess read a few months ago on First Amendment Radio, an Inquisition update, completely. I haven't read that because in German I couldn't get my hands on the complete document because the English is 3 times as big as the German, and that's not possible. Anyway, the quote of Martin Luther that comes apparently out of this, because we read about this today and it comes out of this work, we don't find it in the work, and then we say, oh, it's a forgery. No, it doesn't have to be a forgery. It can be taken out that we don't find it anymore today, and thereby it loses credentials. But I'm going to tell you right now, if Martin Luther wouldn't have said that in 1520, I would have said that in 2018 anyway. Listen, though our children live in the midst of a Christian world, they faint and perish in misery because they lack the gospel in which we should be training and exercising them all the time. I advise no one to place his child where the scriptures do not reign paramount. Schools will become wide open gates of hell if they do not diligently engrave the Holy Scriptures on young hearts. Every institution where men are not increasingly occupied with the Word of God must become corrupt. End of quote. And especially this last sentence. Every institution where men are not increasingly occupied with the Word of God must become corrupt. Well, look around. How many institutions do you have in the world that are increasingly occupying people with the Word of God? I'd say close to none. And all of them have become corrupt. I just wanted to say that also to give a little bit, support.
Absolutely right.
A little bit support to our viewers and listeners of this video to how do I say that? To lift them up spiritually, to start their own research.
Yes.
Do their own readings. I mean, you, Brett, and I, Jörg, we can say on this video whatever we want. Nobody is paying us for what we are doing. Nobody is controlling us.
Independent study.
But the point is, it's an independent study. But the point is, when there are people out there who listen and view this, then they say, "Oh yeah, but Jörg says this, therefore it doesn't have to be true." Well, okay, then please control my words against the Bible. Control my words against anything that you can do a serious research on. I have no problem with that. I know. I even engage you to do that. I even ask that you do that. I want, Brett, sometimes it is that I just want to be proven wrong. But people can't prove me wrong because I'm speaking the truth based on the Bible. And that's the problem. I mean, it's not a problem for me, but it's a problem for some people.
Oh yeah.
You know?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And I just want to say this. I mean, I'm sorry, we are already 15 minutes or something into an introduction before we started the reading, and that was not the idea. But I really want to tell the people, I want to support you in your own research, and this is why we are doing a book reading like this. This book is fully documented. When you have any doubts, go to the sources. I mean, read what the sources are, and then search for these sources for yourself.
Well, that's such a fitting quote you just made, Jörg, because really we're all coming out of this wide open gate of hell that we've been put in since day one. I mean, come on. That's really what this is all about anyway, is we're trying to get back to the Bible here. It's not about the Jesuits. The Jesuits are the ones that are corrupting the whole damn world. That's the point. And the problem is the people don't see how they've been corrupted because they don't take the time to look at the history behind it. I mean, there's so much history behind this. It's ridiculous. And make your head spin for eons. It's not a very comfortable thing, Jörg.
No, it's not.
It's not for everybody. And, when you sit down and talk with a practicing Christian, whether he be in a lower church like a Baptist church or maybe the full ritualistic worship, you know what? They don't like to hear it. They hate it.
People are afraid of the truth today as they were afraid of the truth 2,000 years ago when Jesus came from heaven to tell them.
Well, right, but the point is, we can't let that discourage us. Really, we can't let them discourage us. That's the point.
Oh, I'm surely not discouraged, and I think you will never be discouraged in that way either.
No, I'm not.
It's just that we wanna. In Flemish, we have a very nice saying that goes "een hart onder de riem steken." That means to support people. In a way to wake them up, to say, do your own research, leave the computer or the PlayStation or whatever you are doing, leave that for a few moments, pick up the Bible and start reading and see if that cannot tell you anything and can answer some questions that you have always had in your life,
Yeah, that's right. It's not all about
we just want to
fancy graphics and running around doing all this stuff, it doesn't, and you add it all up, it adds, it just takes away from your life. It's just there to put a roadblock into the truth. It's there to, sidetrack you and to screw you up, and get you all thinking about something else, that's the whole point, is that these doctrines are from the devil, that we're brought into a very devilish world and everything involved with it. Yeah, it's an Antichrist world, and we're dealing with an Antichrist system. And the people just simply don't know, Jörg, that the Roman, the Roman Empire morphed into this Holy Roman Empire. It was based in Germany, Jörg, right? The ancient, the First Reich. I think we were talking about this. And what's fascinating to me is that, people will often accuse you, but when they accuse you, they're actually laying accusation on themselves. It's not that they're accusing you, Jörg, or me. They're noticing things and then they try and blame it on you. But it's really, they're blaming themselves, really. They're laying the accusation on themselves, and I was noticing that with this, it's really, really a painful realization, Jörg, when you realize that the United States of America really is the Fourth Reich.
It's morphing into that, yeah.
Yeah. It really hurts to see it, but that's really what's happening.
This is... The problem with that is, Brett, this is actually a morphing in, meaning it is an evolution.
Yes.
And as everything in the quote-unquote evolution theory, evolution takes time.
Yeah, it does.
You don't change from this to that from one day to the other. It takes time. And the United States of America takes a lot of time to change from a Christ-like nation into a beast that speaks as a dragon, as
Yeah.
Revelation 13 speaks about.
That's right.
And the problem is that in the in the earlier days of your nation's history,
Mhm.
there were a lot of people who were aware of that fact and even tried to warn people. I mean, think of the Monroe
you're right.
Doctrine and all that
Sure.
stuff. Think of John Adams, who has on his gravestone engraved, "I killed the banks." And today, everybody is using this Federal Reserve notes as it was monopoly money and don't think about it, you know?
Right.
And at that time, people were more awake of the wiles of the devil
Yeah.
and of the workings of the Jesuits
Mhm.
as they are today, because today the Jesuits and the Roman Catholic Church have completely taken over the complete education system, and there's just no chance for you to get out and see over the border, see further than your horizon reaches, because they set your horizon, you know.
Mhm.
And that's the problem. And the biggest problem is that because of them, most people just get lazy and get gullible and get ignorant and don't even know it, because they think they are smart because they have studied in school. Romans 1 tells us with all their wisdom they became fools,
Mhm.
right?
Right.
I think
That's
it's
right.
in Romans 1 verse 19 or somewhere thereabouts in the later part of that wonderful chapter of Romans.
Mhm.
Anyway, we are 20 minutes into this introduction,
Yeah,
and we actually want to go into the book reading. So I apologize for everybody who comes to the table and doesn't like this, but these are things also that need to be said, not to justify our reading. Excuse me.
Sure.
Not to just justify our reading, because that needs no justification, but to explain to the people our motivation, why we are doing that. And we want to motivate you to do your own research, because only the truth that you find out for yourself is the truth that you will embrace with your heart. And with that, I stop with that. You maybe have another comment, otherwise I would start
Please
into the reading of the book. Yeah?
That's
Okay,
fine.
I'm gonna retreat one paragraph for continuity purposes. I go back to page 225, and there the last paragraph that goes into the page 226 also, and that's where we ended. And that's why I'm gonna read this quote again. That comes from Satan's Door to America, a tract by J. Edward Decker, an ex-Freemason. And it reads as follows. The following abbreviations, which can often be found on tombstones, indicate to which secret order of Catholicism a deceased belonged. KM stands for Knights of Malta. KSTI, Knights of St. Ignatius. KPC, Knights of Peter Claver. K of L, Knights of Loyola. KKK, everybody knows that, Knights of Ku Klux Klan. KOTM, Knights of Maccabees. KT, Knights Templar. LK, Loyal Knights of America. MRA, Royal Arcanum. RMOKHSJ, the Religious and Military Order of the Knights of the Holy Sepulchre of Jerusalem. RK, Roman Knights. LOM, Loyal Order of the MOOSE. COF, the Catholic Order of Foresters. And the OES, Order of the Eastern Star, a Masonic order whose signet or motive is an inverted pentagram, as worn by Satanists, unquote. And if you want to learn about the history of the pentagram, then I would like to turn you to your Bible, and you open up in the book of Isaiah, chapter 14, verse 12, and the following. And you will hear of the rebellion of Lucifer in heaven, which got him, I just wanted to say excommunicated.
Yeah.
Which got him thrown out of heaven with the 5 eyes of his pride. And every one of this eye stands for one of the points of the 5-pointed star, the pentagram, the inverted star. And whether you turn that star up or down depends on your viewpoint, if you are a Luciferian, pointing up, or a Satanist, pointing down. Okay? And this Eastern Star, as it said so, the order of the OES, Order of the Eastern Star, is a Masonic order whose signe or motive is an inverted pentagram as worn by Satanists, meaning that one is pointing down. In the Eastern Star Manual, we read the following, quote, "The Order of the Eastern Star exists for the purpose of giving practical effect to one of the beneficent purposes of Freemasonry, for the welfare of the wives, daughters, mothers, widows, and sisters of Master Masons. Your badge is the square and the compass within the star, an emblem of the relationship existing between the Masonic fraternity and the Order of the Eastern Star. Your badge is the sun with the star. Your badge is the cross keys within the star." Unquote. Now the alert reader will at once recognize that one of these emblems is Islamic and the other Catholic. You know, the papal cross keys of St. Peter. From the same manual we read, quote, "By means of secret signs we are able to make ourselves known to each other wherever we meet. We are governed by the laws, rules, and regulations of the Grand Chapter, and by codes of bylaws framed by ourselves. These we are bound to obey so long as we remain members of the order. You have been informed that we are in possession of certain secrets, by means of which we are enabled to recognize one another whenever we may meet, and that we purpose to put you in possession of these secrets, that you too may be recognized as a member of the order."
Okay, I've got a comment.
Yeah, please.
We have a footnote number 11. Robert McCoy. This is standard authorized ritual of the Order of the Eastern Star. And it says here, the Order of the Eastern Star is believed to be the 5th largest fraternal organization and the largest female order in the world. In 1917, it had nearly 900,000 members, and its membership roll is increasing at the rate of 50,000 a year. That's from the Builder magazine, November 1920.
Wow.
Yeah, interesting. 1917, 900,000. That's quite a few.
Yeah. And especially when you see that we are now 100 years later, 50,000 a year.
Oh,
that means that means 105
2 zeros,
times
add
50,000.
2 zeros, yeah.
Yeah, that's 5 million, right?
Yeah, right.
5 million more members, probably at least.
So maybe 6 million or so now.
Maybe because the world is exploding. We have already more than 7 billion people living on this earth for the moment.
Yeah, then.
And I remember some time ago we were on the verge of 6 billion, and now we are already over 7 billion. So,
well, you know, and we're at an all-time high with all these occultic things going on. So who knows how many members now? Could be way more than this.
That's right, yeah. But these revelations speak for themselves, the author continues. I just want to go into the last sentence on the first paragraph again. Now the alert reader will at once recognize that one of these emblems is Islamic and the other Catholic. There is no problem with mixing Islamic and Catholic and even Protestant symbols. I mean, a real Protestant doesn't have a symbol, but let's say Freemason symbols, okay?
Yep.
You have Catholic on the one hand, you have Islam on the other, and you have Freemasonry on another hand. The top levels of Freemasonry, above the 33rd degree, are called Shriners. And there are pictures of, for example, Truman, that American president, who is wearing a hat, a Shriner hat.
Mhm.
And that
That's
hat
right.
has as a symbol the half moon and the satanic star in it. Yeah. So it is absolutely no question that these symbols are interchangeable and being used as well as in the Islamic world, as in the Catholic world, as in the Freemason world. Because in the end, and that's the point it leads to, we already read that quote from Helena Blavatsky.
Yeah.
Wasn't it The Secret Doctrine?
Mhm.
That she said that when you trace up masonry up to the top level, you will come out on the volition of one man, and that is the superior general of the Jesuits, who controls it all. Yeah, and that's why you have all these different quote unquote organizations, whether be it a Catholic organization, be it an Islamic organization, or be it a Freemasonic organization, but in the end, they all have the same master and they all have the same goal. And therefore, it is no miracle that the emblems sometimes are interchangeable, and emblems that you see in Roman Catholicism, you also see in Islam. I mean, take for example the bead of the Rosary of a Roman Catholic. You have the same in Islam.
Mhm.
Yeah. And nobody wonders about that. Well, it's because they are from the same source. They both come from Babylon. And the one even founded the other. Yeah?
That's right.
So, if you want to do your research on that, I can advise you 2 books. I can advise you, if you are not a very heavy reader, when you want to have a little bit more light documentary on this, then you turn to Ralph Woodrow's original book published in 1966, Babylon Mystery Religion. And if you are used to a little bit heavier books to read, or let's say when you are used to drink milk, then read Ralph Woodrow. And when you are used to eat meat, then go to Alexander Hislop's The Two Babylons, and you will learn all about that, I can assure you. And that will, especially when you read a book like this, P.D. Stewart, Code Word Babylon, and you have the foundation of either Ralph Woodrow's or Alexander Hislop's book, I can assure you, you will see things as you have never seen them before. You will understand things as you have never understood them before. Very, very interesting. Okay? Now, the author says these revelations speak for themselves. We deal next in a little more detail with the 3 chivalric orders: the Red Cross, the Knights of Malta, and the Knights Templar. On one Japanese Masonic website we read, quote, "The last step in the York Rite system of Freemasonry deals with the historical legend of the ancient Crusaders teaching its lessons of charity and hospitality. It consists of the Order of the Red Cross, the Order of Malta, and the Order of the Temple. With its rigid inspections by the Grand Commandery officers and its many social and fraternal contacts with other commanderies providing activity and interest, this order of Christian knighthood is indeed a climatic ending for Masonic knowledge, the York Rite way." Unquote. A closer look will reveal the Jesuit Masonic influences within these 3 Masonic Catholic orders. And first, we speak about the Red Cross degree. And don't forget, the Red Cross degree in Freemasonry is not exactly the same as the Red Cross charity organization that you see always on the battlefield picking up the wounded, but that one also is a Catholic organization, right? Never forget that. The Templars had 2 banners, one with a white background on which was a black cross, and another with a pure white background emblazoned with a large red cross. In battle, they would wear white mantles with the red cross. Now consider the following figure, which is the official logo of the International Federation of the Red Cross Societies. The red cross is side by side with the Islamic crescent moon, Balhada. This is the sun the white circle within, or eclipsing the red crescent moon. And I guess probably, Brett, that you will take a little note here and insert the pictures that are in the book on page 227 for our readers here in the video. There we see the emblem of the International Federation of Red Cross and Islamic Red Crescent Society's logos. When the Templars were reorganized at the time of their suppression, and if you don't know about that, that was the 13th of October in the year 1307, when the Knights Templars were suppressed. That's why you have the superstition of the number 13 being a Friday the 13th being a bad day, because that was a Friday. Yeah. And then the Templars were arrested, and that is where that superstition actually comes from. But biblically spoken, number 13 always stands for rebellion. Anyway, when the Templars were reorganized at the time of their suppression, their wealth and good Samaritan work developed upon various international societies. Albert Stevens confirms that the Red Cross degree is conferred in commanderies of Masonic Knights Templars.
I've
The
got
Order
a
of the
comment
Red
there
Cross.
for that, Jörg.
Okay.
For that footnote 14, Albert C. Stevens, the Encyclopedia of Fraternities. The Catholic Encyclopedia touted Stevens' work in 1910 as better than, quote, all other Masonic encyclopedias, unquote, or encyclopedias here it says. Sorry.
Interesting.
Yeah, that is, isn't it?
So this is really not only a verified source, but even a lauded source, if you can say that.
By the Catholic Encyclopedia in 1910. Yeah, the old Catholic Encyclopedia.
Yeah, the one that I have standing here in my closet. Thanks of you sending me that.
You're welcome, brother.
Right. Yeah, we have to read a lot more about that, because reading that Catholic encyclopedia gives you a view of quote unquote Christianity as never before. Anyway.
Especially the old one. Yeah, it's incredible.
Yeah, especially the old one. Okay, so I'm gonna continue here.
Please do.
The Order of the Red Cross is the modern charitable arm of the Knights Templar Order. Yeah? Did you understand that well, what I just read? The Order of the Red Cross is the modern charitable arm of the Knights Templar Order. Means esoterically is again another meaning than exoterically. Exoteric, they are the Order of the Red Cross, fine knights, but esoterically they know that they are the modern Knights Templar Order. And they were not good. And the American Red Cross is the second richest charity in the world, with assets of $1.07 billion at the time of 2006. No surprise, as the Templars were the richest order of their day, possessing vast assets. We shall see later the Order of the Knights Templar has been ritually and substantially preserved within the higher degrees of Masonry. And so perhaps it will not come as a total surprise to learn that Jean-Henri Dunant, founder of the Red Cross, was a high-ranking Freemason, in other words, a modern-day Knight Templar. Notice too that the Japanese Grand Lodge's website, and footnote 13 speaks of that, and that is www.japan Japan, and then you have this minus sign. What is that? Dash, or how do you say
hyphen?
That's dash.
Yeah,
that's
hyphen.
Hyphen. Ah, yeah. Thank you. Japan-freemasons.org/docs/yr.php. So you can look that website up, of course. That's what he's referring to here. That Japanese Grand Lodge's website speaks of the ancient crusaders teaching lessons of charity and hospitality. This was the mission statement of the Knights Templars and is now that of the International Red Cross. Thus, the fact that the founder of the Red Cross was a Freemason command Masonry? Not at all, as we shall see why in chapters 49 through 61, I think that is, between pages 387 and 422 in this book. I hope I didn't misread those numbers.
I think it's 39, actually. This is 3 X's. 39 through 60. Yeah, but, it's...
I don't know. I'm not that good with these Roman
it's
numbers.
It's fine. Don't worry. It's people really should get this book and research it themselves if they really want to get something out of this, because we can't get everything, every tiny little detail in here crammed into this recording. We just can't.
Anyway, from page 387 on, we will see about that.
Mm-hmm.
Mark also that on the Japanese website, these Catholic orders, the Order of the Red Cross, the Order of Malta, and the Order of the Templars, are all described as a climatic ending of Masonic knowledge in the York Rite degree, and as having many social and fraternal contacts with other commanderies. Who are these other commanderies? They are the various degrees of the Jesuit order. You want proof? Here's proof. We have conclusive proof that the Order of the Red Cross, the Order of Malta, and the Order of the Knights Templar are different degrees or hierarchies within the Jesuit system of Freemasonry. Rebold's History of Freemasonry tells us, quote, Knights Templarism, as known in America, comprised the 3 degrees with the Knights, for example, that is, Knights of the Red Cross, Knight Templar, and Knight of Malta, introduced into the United States in 1808. By the way, that is during the time of the suppression of the Jesuits. Yeah, don't forget that they were suppressed between 1773 and 1814. Okay, so interesting. This is during the time of the quote-unquote Illuminati being the forefront organization of the Jesuits in that time. Yeah, introduced into the United States in 1808, and which degrees now compose the highest grades of American Masonic system. Unquote. Rebold then adds that the Templar Order of Freemasonry is secretly known as the Jesuit system of strict observance. That fact reveals that the power behind the highest grades of Masonry is Jesuitism. Again, that fact reveals that the power behind the highest grades of Freemasonry is Jesuitism. Now, listen. It is so important that you understand this. We read already about the oaths of the Jesuits, right?
Right.
And we know that the Jesuits always control both sides. So you have Freemasonry on the one hand that lures Protestants into a secret society, which a Bible-believing Christian should stay away as far as from the devil, but they don't. And on the other hand, you have the Roman Catholic Knight Orders. And the Jesuits control both sides of the story. So whether you are an openly admitted Roman Catholic or you are a Freemason, then you are just a Catholic in disguise. Because you're working for the same goal and your boss is the same boss. Because on the top, it is all Jesuit controlled. And this is what P.D. Stewart tells us here. That fact that we've just read about from Rebold reveals that the power behind the highest grades of Masonry is Jesuitism. And since Jesuitism is the policy of the Jesuit order, is the policy of the people who are belonging to the Society of Jesus, which is by Regimini Militantis Ecclesiae a Roman Catholic monastic order, you're Catholic. And you're a Jesuit anyway, or working with or for the Jesuits, knowingly or unknowingly. But that's what Rebold revealed us to here. And P.D. Stewart continues and says, but there's even more. Emmanuel Rebold was past deputy of the Masonic Grand Orient of France. This is what he says of the Jesuits' role in Masonry. Quote, notwithstanding the confusion that they had created, the Jesuits had accomplished but one of their designs. They arranged the systems styled clerkship of the Templars, an amalgamation of the different histories, events, and characteristics mixed with the reveries of the alchemists. In this combination, Catholicism governed all, and the whole fabrication moved upon wheels, representing the great object for which the Society of Jesus was organized. Need we say more? Now we read about the Knights of Malta. And therefore also very interesting, I advise you to turn to the book Rulers of Evil, where he speaks about Tapasorsi, where he speaks about the Knights of Malta and Ignatius of Loyola, how he received all the secret knowledge on a journey. But let's go into this book first. Let us look more closely at the Knights of Malta, which, completely spoken out, is the Sovereign Military Order of Malta, with the abbreviation SMOM. The public face of the Knights of Malta is a charitable organization. Isn't that strange? All these organizations on the front, on the outside, are charitable.
That's right.
Huh? And what is charity? Brotherly love. You know?
Mm-hmm.
And what does the Bible say? Love is the fulfillment of all the commandments, right?
Right.
When you love, you have it all. That's why they put that behind that. In that way, openly, you can never ever attack them. It's all charitable. They are so wonderfully caring for people in the hospitals and in the homes for the elderly and in the homes for the handicapped. That's right, but they never tell you that in the first place, by poisoning our food and everything else that they do, getting us sick in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
Huh?
Yeah.
So first they put us in the hospitals, and then they take care of us when we are at the hospitals. And why is that? Because first we spend money for all the pills that make us sick, and then we spend money in the hospital to get better again, all by their help. So it's all about what? Money. Money, 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 money. They
Yeah.
got it all. You pay for everything.
Yeah, you do.
And under the disguise of a charitable organization. Huh? The public face of the Knights of Malta is as a charitable organization that raises money for various philanthropic endeavors. And by the way, look up that word philanthropic. What does that mean? What does it mean to be a philanthropist? And then it is not so charitable anymore when you understand that word.
Mm-hmm.
In areas of healthcare and international relief. They own and direct infirmaries and hospitals under the auspices of the Order of St. John, who operate the St. John's Ambulance Service. However, according to American historian James Parton, the Jesuits and the Knights of Malta stay in the background, while the missions of other orders do the work in the public view. And I'm gonna tell you right here another little history about that. Because what the author says is absolutely 100% correct. And then you have to understand that, and I only name this one example, Rupert Murdoch, the owner of Fox News Network, of the whole Fox network. He is a knight of Saint Gregory. You know, Saint Gregory, the Antichrist, has an own order. That is a Roman Catholic order. But that, of course, is not in public. But he is a member of that. And thereby, that means that all his endeavors are Roman Catholic controlled. No more and no less. Okay? Now, where was I? Who then are the Knights of Malta, and what is their role in the Millennium Endgame spoken of by Malachi Martin? Malachi Martin, I tell you, you gotta be careful when you read of him. The Knights of Malta is the oldest of the remaining Catholic chivalric orders. This order has been incorporated into the 13th degree of Freemasonry, depending on which rite of Masonry is involved. The Knights of Malta will play a powerful role in the future takeover of America. We know this because in the 1930s, General Smedley Butler was commissioned by them to take over the White House.
Oh, comment. My, oh my. This is so true. I mean, when I first bumped into some of Alan Lamont's videos, just with the pictures of the Knights of Malta, that freaked me out. First time I ever, started thinking about, well, what's going on in Europe? Well, who are these people? Well, they're here in America too. Oh my, yeah, it's much, much worse when you take a look at the Knights of Malta, isn't it, Jörg?
Yeah, and I think we will also learn that later on when we return to the Knights of Columbus, because that's in a few pages we are dealing with that.
That's right.
That we actually have to understand that the Knights of Columbus is actually the arm of the Knights of Malta in America.
That's right.
You know?
Yep.
It's just another arm, but it's more or less, it's the same organization. They have more or less the same goals. They have very identical oaths, and it's no avail to go into that right now.
Right.
The only point that I want to make is all these things are interconnected, and I think that P.D. Stewart makes the point very well already here with the Order of the Red Cross, as he told us, that the fact reveals that the power behind the highest grades of Masonry is Jesuitism. That's what he told us under the name of the Red Cross. Now we are dealing with the Knights of Malta, and the Knights of Malta are very, very powerful people. Right?
Oh yes, there's a footnote
just one example.
Also, Jörg, on the previous page that I really
but before you go into that, let me just clear this. Everybody knows the company Monsanto, who is pushing genetically modified organisms all over the world. That company was founded in the 19th century by Francis Queeny. Francis Queeny was a Knight of Malta. Enough said. So, turn to your footnote, Brett.
Yes, the Knights of Malta is an, quote, 800-year-old Vatican secret police. Well, comment on that is, I think it's 900 years now, Jörg. I think they had their 900th year anniversary more recently, haven't they?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. Hence the title, the Sovereign Military Order of Malta, SMOM. Quote, notable recent members of SMOM have included Dr. Otto von Habsburg, a prime organizer of the Bilderbergs.
Stop. Dr. von Habsburg, that is a descendant of the Habsburgs. That is the ruling emperor family of Austria during the Holy Roman Empire. Okay? Then you come to Franz von Papen. Yeah. Then you come to Franz von Papen, who we already spoke about, the man who persuaded President von Hindenburg to resign and appoint Hitler Chancellor of Germany, who was the Vice Chancellor behind Hitler, and who was Chancellor of Germany in the Weimar Republic, the last but one chancellor before Adolf Hitler himself, and who was a privy, how do they call that? Chamberlain to the Pope.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Mhm.
for Franz von Papen. And then William Casey, who is a CIA chief who died mysteriously during the Iran-Contra hearings. And it is not only William Casey. When you do that studies, and Brett knows this as much as I am. I'm sorry, I'm taking over here from your
Please,
footnote, but
go for it.
almost every CIA chief up to today has been a Knight of Malta. And that was one of the reasons, not the only reason, but one of the reasons why John F. Kennedy got killed. Because he threw out Allen Dulles. He was the chief of the Knights of the CIA at that time, and he was a Knight of Malta. And the Jesuits were not going to deal with that he wanted to put his brother Bobby on the top of the CIA and clean out that pig stall. Huh?
Mm-hmm.
Every CIA chief up to now, one of the most known is Bennett, or what's his name, during the time of 9/11. He also was a Knight of Malta when he was CIA chief.
Oh,
Major
yeah,
General.
I can't think of that name either right now.
Yeah, Major General Reinhard Gehlen. I think we spoke about him earlier in this book, or it was some other book, because I come across Reinhard Gehlen in so many places. He was the chief of the counter-espionage under Hitler. General Alexander Haig, who was, if I remember correctly, the commander-in-chief during the first Gulf War in the 90s under Bush Sr. William F. Buckley Jr., Claire Booth Luce, founder of the Time newspaper. C. Begin Lincoln and Lee in the Messianic Legacy, and so on and so on. So,
I was going to say, Jörg, when I started to read this, I should have just said, Jörg, can you please read the footnote for us, because it's a little involved here. Yeah, no, I really appreciate it. I really do. Please.
Okay, no problem. So let's continue. The Knights of Malta will play a powerful role in the future takeover of America. By the way, how long have we been recording, Brett? Isn't that 55 minutes right up to now?
Probably, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So maybe we should come to an end, because with this sentence, it's an interesting sentence to start the new broadcast.
I think you're spot on, brother.
You're
spot on. That's a really, this is a good thing to end on too for America. Americans, if they just took the time to just research a little more and question some things they've been taught that are wrong, maybe that would be enough to get them started on, maybe I should put more time into this. Maybe, maybe this explains a lot more than we've ever been told before by anyone, really, and it does, because when you start seeing the futurism deception playing into the temporal and spiritual realms, guess what? It makes a lot more sense. The Bible opens new doors you've never seen before.
That's true.
Yeah.
Never forget reading the Bible.
That's right. That's what this is all about. We want to point you to the Bible. This is just a stepping stone right here. I like stepping stones, because stepping stones are just a temporary thing. You're just you're going from one place to another, and we're trying to pull you out of the fire that this country is ready. The United States is ready to go right into a fire pit here, and they're with the blindfolds.
When you understand history a little bit and the workings of secret societies, what this book is dealing with, you read the Bible as you absolutely, completely correct said, Brett. You read the Bible with other eyes, and you understand the Bible all of a sudden much better than you used to understand it.
Yes.
Just because you have this background knowledge all of the time, and all of a sudden all the puzzle pieces fall together.
Yeah,
I made in one of my German videos, I made that parable. I told them, listen, now imagine I give you a jigsaw puzzle, and that jigsaw puzzle contains of 5,000 different pieces. You can buy jigsaw puzzles even with 10,000 or more pieces, but let's say 5,000. So that's quite small, the pieces. And it is quite a big picture that you have to put together. Now assume that I take off 478 of these pieces, randomly, from everywhere. And you are going to put that picture together. Do you think that you can see the whole picture when I take out almost 10% of all the puzzles pieces that you actually need to make the frame working? No. And with books like this, you fill in the puzzles of the puzzle pieces, the missing puzzle pieces of your understanding when you are reading the Bible. And that all of a sudden you will get a better understanding of the Bible. Because the Bible is a spiritual book, but it can also be approached from a worldly view. And when you have that worldly view understanding, and that is history that I mean, and then you turn to the Bible, then you will see everything not as it was meant to be. You approach it from the other way around, but you will still see the whole picture. Because, in the Bible we read prophecies, and prophecies are nothing else but history told in advance. Today, 2018, we have the history to look back on history and to fill in the gaps and understand Bible prophecy from fulfillment in history. And therefore, these books are so important, because maybe up to now, the Bible was a book, quote unquote, of 7 seals for you, because you didn't understand the prophecies, because you did not have the right understanding of history, because you have been told lies all your life in the education system that you attended on. And that is normally, because, I mean, that is not something that we, that I am saying to blame you or so. We all have been in that way. And now, for the first time, with books like Code Word Babylon, you have the possibility to see the Bible prophecy in the light of the real understanding of real history and see them fulfilled. And that will give you growth in Jesus Christ. And that's what it's all about. Brett and I are doing this reading of this book and all the other stuff that we are doing only and only to spread the word, because Jesus Christ commanded us, go into the world and spread the gospel and teach the gospel to every creature. And this is the way that we do it. This is the way the Holy Spirit chose us to do this, because we are no preachers from the pulpit. We are no priests, no pastors, no reverends, no whatever. This is the way that we bring the word of God to the people. And we hope and pray that you, dear listener and viewer of this video, are one of them and are being edified by the study of this book and will gain a deeper understanding of the Bible when you read it up from today. And with this, I want to close, Brett, and I leave the closing remarks for you.
Thank you, Jörg. Yes, and I think I will just say goodbye to everyone, and hoping to do this again soon, Jörg. And thanks so much for all the time and energy invested that you've done and all the readings you've done so far. I really enjoy the readings you do, Jörg. So we'll catch up next time. God bless everybody. See you then. Bye-bye.
Now, as you may know, my running mate, Tim, is Catholic and went to Jesuit schools. And one of the things he and I have talked about is this idea from the Jesuits of the Magus, the more, the better.
That for the first time in human history, for the first time in all of human history, almost all of mankind is politically awake. And these new and old major powers face still yet another novel reality, in some respects unprecedented. And it is that while the lethality of their power is greater than ever, their capacity to impose control over the politically awakened masses of the world is at a historical low. I once put it rather pungently, and I was flattered that the British Foreign Secretary repeated this, as follows. Namely, in earlier times, it was easier to control 1 million people. Literally, it was easier to control 1 million people than physically to kill 1 million people. Today, it is infinitely easier to kill 1 million people than to control 1 million people. It is easier to kill than to control.
We're at the very beginning stages of a very brutal and bloody conflict. And I believe that we've come horribly off track in the years since the fall of the Soviet Union. And we're starting now in the 21st century, which I believe strongly is a crisis both of our church, a crisis of our faith, a crisis of the West, and a crisis of capitalism.
His son Jesus is here in our midst. His bride, the church, is honored to host an event affirming the dignity of the human person and the sacredness of all human life.
I think Russia is no longer a communist state, first of all. That's very important to realize. It hasn't yet defined itself, however, effectively as a democracy. It is still uncertain.
We're at the very beginning stages of a very brutal and bloody conflict, of which if the people in this room and the people in the church do not bind together and really form what I feel is an aspect of the church militant, if the people in this room and the people in the church do not bind together and really form what I feel is an aspect of the church militant, to really be able to not just stand with our beliefs, but to fight for our beliefs against this new barbarity that's starting, that we will literally eradicate everything that we've been bequeathed over the last 2,025 years.
You didn't mention the president by name, but it was hard not to conclude that that's who you were referring to. Is that fair?
I was certainly referring to the threats that we are now facing with this stated goals of this administration, which would upset the last 70 years of a new world order which was established after World War II. 70 years based on human rights, respect for the law, free trade, all of the things, aspects of this world order that took place after one of the most horrific, terrible wars in history, and I'm for maintaining it.
We are grateful to be citizens of one nation under God, who acclaim this evening that in God we trust. Bless our two candidates, our benefactors, and those whom the L. Smith Foundation has been honored to serve for 7 decades. Guide us safely home, both this evening and for all eternity, through Christ our Lord. Amen.